Have you ever wondered, could a nighttime nosebleed be an early warning sign of high blood pressure? Today, we'll hear the story of Franklin, a 71-year-old man who seemed perfectly healthy. To better understand the connection between a seemingly minor symptom and the hidden risk behind it. Hello, doctor. My name is Franklin. I'm 71 years old, and I live in Oregon with my wife, Edith, in a quiet little house just outside of town. Life in our senior years is pretty simple. Mornings spent pulling weeds in the garden, afternoons with a book, and in the evenings, we watch the news together before heading to bed early. But recently, something happened that's been truly worrying me. One evening, while I was just sitting and reading in the living room, not doing anything strenuous, I suddenly felt something wet running from my nose. I reached up, and it was blood. A nosebleed, doctor. And not just a few drops. It was pouring out, like a faucet turned on too high. I panicked. Edith ran to get a cold towel, and I just sat there, frozen, tilting my head back like my mother used to tell me to do when I was a kid. The blood kept coming, and I just sat there, confused and worried, with no idea what was happening. My wife asked, "Could it be your high blood pressure causing this?" To be honest, I've had hypertension for a few years now. I take my medication regularly, watch my salt, avoid fried food. But I've never had a nosebleed like this. It left me feeling unsettled. I don't know if this was a serious warning sign or just a coincidence. So today, I want to ask sincerely, Doctor, can high blood pressure really cause sudden nosebleeds like this? And if so, is it dangerous? What should I do if it happens again?
Thank you, Mr. Franklin, for sharing your experience so honestly. What you went through, a sudden nosebleed in the evening, is something that understandably causes concern for many older adults. And your question is one I hear quite often in the clinic. Is high blood pressure really linked to sudden nosebleeds like that? Let's break it down together, clearly and calmly. The answer is, it's possible, but not always the case. First, we need to understand a bit about how the body works. Our noses, especially the area known as Kisselbach's plexus, located at the front of the nasal septum, are filled with tiny, delicate blood vessels. In older adults, these vessels tend to be weaker, thinner, and more fragile than in younger people. When your blood pressure spikes, especially if the spike is sudden, the pressure inside those small vessels in the nose also increases. If you're in a dry environment, like using a heater in winter, or if your nasal lining is already sensitive, those vessels can easily rupture and cause a nosebleed. However, not every nosebleed is caused by high blood pressure. There are many other possible causes, such as dry nasal passages due to low humidity, blood-thinning medications like aspirin, warfarin, etc., sinus infections or allergies, aggressive nose picking or frequent sneezing. But if you have chronic high blood pressure and it's not well controlled, a nosebleed could be a warning sign that your blood pressure is rising beyond safe levels, especially if it comes with other symptoms like dull headaches, a flushed face, ringing in the ears, or a sensation of heat. Another important point. When high blood pressure occurs repeatedly, it doesn't just affect the blood vessels in the nose. It can also damage vessels in the eyes, kidneys, and brain. A nosebleed may be visible, but it could just be the tip of the iceberg. In short, Nosebleeds in older adults should not be ignored, especially if they have a history of hypertension. It might be a warning bell that the body is under strain and needs more thorough medical attention. Dear Mr. Franklin, and everyone watching this video, I completely understand that many of us tend to brush off things like a nosebleed. Some might even think, oh, it's just the dry air, wipe it off and move on. But here's the truth. If this happens to someone with a history of high blood pressure, especially if it keeps happening, it's not something to take lightly. From a physiological perspective, high blood pressure puts direct strain on the entire vascular system. It's like inflating a balloon with too much air. At first it just stretches, but if you keep going without releasing any pressure, eventually it pops. The small blood vessels in the nose might be the first to pop. But now imagine if the same thing happened inside the brain. We wouldn't be talking about a few drops of blood, but potentially a hemorrhagic stroke. And if it happens at night, while you're alone and no one's around to help, the risk of death becomes very real. Beyond stroke, even minor blood loss, though nowhere near a major accident, can still be serious for older adults. Each episode can weaken the body further, leading to dizziness, sudden drops in blood pressure, fainting, or dangerous falls. And as we know, one bad fall can result in a broken hip or wrist, injuries that can keep an older adult bedridden for months. I once had a 74-year-old patient who had 2 nosebleeds in 1 week. She thought it was just due to allergies and didn't seek help. On the 3rd episode, she lost her balance, fell, and hit her head on the edge of a table. Only then did she find out her blood pressure had quietly spiked to 190 over 110. That's why I always say this. A nosebleed may not be scary in itself, but in some cases, it's a red warning light from your cardiovascular system. And if it comes with any of the following symptoms, please don't delay. Get checked immediately. Intense headaches, dizziness or blurred vision, a flushed or hot face, unusually fast heartbeat, feeling off balance when standing. These are not minor signs. They could be the early signals of something much more serious on the horizon. Dear Mr. Franklin and everyone watching, when you're faced with a nosebleed, especially if you're living with high blood pressure, the most important thing is, don't panic. The first thing to do is not to reach for medicine, but to stay calm. Remaining calm helps you respond correctly and prevents the situation from becoming worse. Here are the first aid steps to handle a nosebleed. Sit down and lean slightly forward. Many people instinctively tilt their head back, but that's actually the wrong thing to do. It can cause the blood to flow backward into the throat, leading to nausea or even choking. Pinch the soft part of your nose, not the bridge, and hold for 5 to 10 minutes. Don't let go to check too soon. Be patient. Holding steady gives the blood vessels a chance to clot and stop the bleeding. Apply something cold to the bridge of the nose or the back of the neck. The cold helps constrict the blood vessels, slowing the bleeding. You can use a cold compress, a wrapped ice pack, or even a chilled cloth. If the bleeding continues after 15 to 20 minutes, or if it's accompanied by dizziness or fatigue, go to the nearest medical center immediately. That's your body waving a red flag, especially if you have a history of high blood pressure. Prevention is better than cure. Long-term strategies. Of course, first aid is just a short-term solution. What matters more is managing your blood pressure well every day. And the good news? You can absolutely do this at home with a few consistent habits. Use a home blood pressure monitor. Measure at the same time each day. For example, in the morning after waking and before bed. Write the numbers down in a notebook or digital app. These records help your doctor far more than vague descriptions. Follow a heart-friendly diet. Cut back on salt, no more than 1,500 ml a day. Limit processed foods, canned goods, and pre-made sauces. They often contain hidden sodium. Eat more leafy greens, fresh fruits, salmon, and whole grains. Stay physically active within your limits. A 20 to 30-minute walk daily can make a big difference. You don't need intense workouts. Consistency is key. Manage stress and get quality sleep. The older we get, the more valuable sleep becomes. Keep your bedroom quiet and avoid screens before bedtime. Gentle meditation, calming music, or reading can naturally help lower blood pressure. And remember this: high blood pressure often doesn't show symptoms. But when it does signal something, like with a nosebleed, we need to pay attention. Your body always gives you a chance to adjust. You just have to listen and act before it's too late. Mr. Franklin and everyone watching this program, today we've explored a topic that might seem small at first glance. Is a nosebleed a sign of high blood pressure? The answer is, it can be, and it should never be ignored. If you've been diagnosed with hypertension, an unexpected nosebleed, especially at night and without any obvious injury, may be a warning sign that your blood vessels are under too much pressure. And it's not just about the nose, it's about your heart, your brain, and your entire circulatory system. But here's the good news: we are not powerless. We can take back control through small, consistent actions each day. Sometimes something as simple as a home blood pressure monitor and a tiny notebook can become our most trusted allies in the journey to protect our health after age 55. 2 small tips to help you get started today. Place your blood pressure monitor somewhere easy to see, like near the breakfast table or beside your bed. When something becomes a part of your daily routine, it no longer feels like a task. It just becomes second nature. Create a personal health journal. Write down your blood pressure readings, days you felt tired, nosebleeds, or headaches. That notebook could become a map your doctor uses to spot issues before they grow. Sometimes our bodies speak up before the problem becomes obvious. And when we choose to listen and take gentle care of ourselves each day, we've already walked half the path to a healthier heart. If you're watching this video and thinking to yourself, I've had a few nosebleeds before, but I never thought it could be related to blood pressure, please don't hesitate to share. Your story might help someone else recognize their own condition early. Feel free to leave your questions or personal experiences in the comments below. My team and I read every message carefully, and we'll be answering the most common concerns in future videos. And if you found this video helpful, clear, relatable, and easy to understand, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our weekly updates on senior health topics. Because taking care of your health isn't just a one-day task. It's a gentle, patient journey, and you're never walking it alone.